What's up, guys? It's Real Some Cheesy. We're back at it. We're only 20 days out now, so what does that mean? Less than 3 weeks? 3 weeks away? And that's just like at the most, right? Because for all we know, it could drop, you know, it could drop in a week, right? Like all we've heard is late April, so very excited. And since we are now 20 days out, I did kind of want to go over something a bit more serious, a bit more interesting, right? And that's actually exactly what was said at ARCREVO regarding like season 2 and the story mode 2. So yeah, let's just get right into it. And the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about before I got too in depth with this is like, some people are like, oh, well, story mode 2 is supposed to come with season 1, so there's no guarantee that's connected to season 2. I mean, and some people are disappointed, and it's understandable, and I was kind of disappointed too that the last character didn't just release with the story, right? But again, we just gotta take it. It is what it is, so live with it, vibe with it, and it makes sense. Like, I kind of figured that story mode 2 is going to be a gateway for season, like a gateway for season 1, DLC, then season 2 DLC, so is what it is. And I'm not going to talk about everything, and it's mainly going to be things talked about by Daisuke, but before I get into that, I actually wanted to talk about this, and it's that Season Pass 2 will feature 4 exciting playable characters that everyone's been waiting for, and a brand new track written by Daisuke. So also, will include additional stages, additional colors, and extensive balance tuning. So great, and of course, season crossplay, so that'll be fun. But again, it'll be exciting that we get more colors. Of course, if you were scared that we're not going to get any balance changes, there you go. And I would expect that like shortly after the story, like a week or two, honestly, we get like either a trailer or a date for a new character. At the most a month. I'd be surprised if they even pushed it out to a month. I feel like we're going to get announced, like in May, we're going to get announced a new character, and at the end of May, right? So we'll have to see about that. Of course, new colors are great, and they pluralized stages, so that'll be fun to see. And the thing about the DLC, right, and again, I'm expecting that we're going to see all the new DLC, right, but in this new story mode, or at least most of them, but, well, we'll get into that later. But, of course, they say 4 characters that everyone's been waiting for. So for me and a lot of people, this implies this could be this first pass that they do all the old characters. If we see any new characters, like we kind of mentioned, and some other things Daisuke says, but if we see any new characters, it's probably not going to be them, right? The only other characters that could be new that everyone's been waiting for, right, is either Delilah or Asuka. And if you're like, oh, no one's waiting for Delilah, listen, she's been hinted at and talked about since Zerd, mentioned in Strive a shit ton, mentioned in Biken's teaser, we've been waiting for her, right? So she could definitely still fit into this. And of course, Asuka, that man, we've been wanting to see him be playable since the beginning of the Guilty Gear series. So those are really the only 2 characters that aren't an old character that I think, that could be added, right? And, I mean, I'm trying to think, like, really that's up to anyone, right? Because, I mean, when they say everyone's waiting for, I mean, that could literally be Bridget, that could be Slayer, Jam, like, literally anyone, so I feel like that it does limit it a bit, but not too bad. And, of course, 4 characters, but anyways, let's get into Daisuke actually said himself, and first thing he kind of says is that in this new mode, we're going to take players deeper into the story and see what was happening behind the scenes. So, this is interesting, and I hope it's not all that we focus on again, because I think a lot of these characters have really good connections to Nagoriyuki, and I'd really like to see, again, Nagoriyuki in this new story mode, see what he's been up to, and again, see characters like Chip and Anji and how they've been dealing with him, and then like see, again, how Biken and Delilah, and again, like Testament, or Faust would kind of react to him, and kind of see everything with him, right? So I hope it's not all we're focusing on, but when we're talking about behind the scenes, it doesn't make me feel like we're talking about like either right before or like probably during the G4 summit, right? Like with characters and kind of what they were doing. And deeper into the story just means, again, like nitty gritty, more lore, not like, again, G4 is kind of like the beginning, it was like the base, and now we're getting more into like, okay, the G4 is happening, but again, happening behind the scenes, what was happening deeper into it, right? And my kind of thought process or my prediction would definitely be like, maybe there was some threat, like underground probably threat, like some illegal, I don't fucking know, but some underground threat that needed to be dealt with that was like well known, that Illyria and probably America were like, hey, can we give like a task force dedicated to kind of taking care of this, right? So again, we'll have to see with that, but interested in that for sure. And again, it just gives us a good timeline for when this is probably gonna happen. And again, I hope it's not only that, because again, I really would like to see Nagoriyuki in this new story mode. I'd like to see Happy Chaos as well, but I'd be okay if we pushed off Happy Chaos, because again, as we saw from his arcade mode, we know that he's going to be trying to get back, so it makes sense if he's kind of out of it for a bit, out of the story for a bit. But again, I really don't want to wait for like a story 3 to see Nagoriyuki interact with these characters, right? But the next thing it actually says is, there are a lot of characters who didn't show up in the main story, so now in the new mode, we'll learn more about them and their motives behind it all. So, yeah, this is good. Let me just say that, because again, learn more about them, right? So in particular, characters like Testament and Faust. There's no guarantee that we'll see Testament. I guess it would be a surprise to me, because again, they did say characters didn't show up in the main story, and like we only have the 4 confirmed thus far. Of course, the base roster characters plus Baiken, who Baiken was hinted at in the first story. So Testament's really the only character that, again, I think they'd fit in great, given their connections to, again, trying to unify Gears and humans, and their connections to Nagoriyuki, right? But so I'll have to see what's up with them. But again, seeing their transformation from XX to, now, and then seeing Faust as well from Zerd till now, I think, again, learning more about them is a really good nod that we'll finally get the answers we're seeking, especially for Faust, because of course everybody's wondering about Faust. So super excited about that. And then their motives, right? Like, it would be interesting to see Faust's motives, because we don't really know what he's up to. Last time we saw him, he was with Cronus. So maybe, again, knowing that man is out, maybe, I don't know, especially because now that it seems like the world, like, again, Chip and Anji knew, or at least figured out on their own, that there were 2 that mans. So it makes sense that Cronus maybe also is coming to that conclusion, and again, maybe they know about Happy Chaos, especially if this does take a place, like, especially again, if this is taking place during the events, right? Maybe they got that information, and then we'll get to see Faust and kind of Cronus's reaction, but we'll see what's up with that. As for the other motives, Ram makes sense. My kind of thought process was, again, that Ram was kind of in hiding with, again, people like Elfeld, Sin, and Dizzy, given that they are all part of Kai's family, and Kai wanted to announce his family, and then talk about the coexistence of Gears. And although they're Valentines, like, again, Gears, I think it's just going to be like a loose term for, like, again, Gears, Valentines, demi-humans, backyard apparitions, like everything, right? But we'll have to see what's up with Ram, of course. But again, if we're going off this idea that maybe there was like some threat, Ram would make sense that she would be like, hey, I'll help take care of it, right? I'll go take, some of the Failing Stein, for example, and we'll go make sure that this problem does not interfere with the G4 Summit. That Baiken, of course, and Delilah in particular. Chip and Anji particularly went to go meet and look at both that man Asuka, and then that man Happy Chaos, so maybe they're connected, or maybe they felt like they should go and deal with this threat as well. I don't really know. We really don't see them. Well, we see Baiken and Delilah together. It's not exactly clear, if you watch it again, you can confirm this, but it's not really exactly clear if we're seeing them in the ship of the Jellyfish Pirates as well. But we do see Baiken on top of the train with Ram, so they might have just met up by like coincidence and then kind of went together, or maybe they are part of that team. We don't really know, but again, their motive seems to, hopefully, or probably to be related to, again, that man learning the truth, all that jazz. And then May is just probably connected to Johnny, because again, if we're going with this like underground threat type situation, it makes sense that Vernon in particular, because again, we know Vernon has connections to Johnny, was like, hey, Johnny, like, there's this underground threat, you kind of know more about this, illegal business type stuff than I do, can you deal with it for me? And of course, Johnny would probably be like, no problem, I want money though, probably, of course, but that would also explain, of course, why May's there, and the Jellyfish Pirates are so involved. And maybe Faust is just staying with the Jellyfish Pirates, we don't really know, but again, getting to learn more about, the characters and the motives will be really good. And again, is the reason that I hope we get to see Testament, because Testament or Faust are definitely the characters. Besides Baiken too, because Baiken has matured a lot in 3 weeks thanks to Delilah, that we'll get to see. So really excited to learn more about them. And the next thing that's pretty much really the last important thing that's said is that there'll be characters that appear only in the story, but pay close attention to them. This makes me fearful, man. For Delilah, I am like the biggest Delilah fan. All right, listen. If you were like, listen, who is the person that I should think of about Delilah? It's me. All right. I love Delilah. I'm so excited to see her. But given that they talk about characters that everybody's been waiting for, how Delilah we finally got to see in this trailer, and then immediately after, pretty much they say, hey, by the way, there's going to be characters that only appear in the story, but pay close attention to them. That does scream Delilah for me too, but I really hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see them playable. I'd love just again to see their take on it. I've been really impressed, and I guess it's more gameplay than story-wise, but I've been really impressed with them remodeling and changing past iteration of characters. And it could be like, an Elfelt Happy Chaos situation, right? Where maybe Elfelt doesn't get added, but like they like kind of took some ideas from Elfelt and then added into Happy Chaos and basically created a whole new character. They could definitely do something similar with like Bedman to Delilah, right? So, or just have like some nods at Bedman's gameplay. Maybe she has like a wake up reversal supers that's like the alarm clock. Maybe one of her specials are like similar. So again, we'll have to see. I really hope it's not just a copy paste type situation, because again, Delilah's her own girl. I don't want to see her copy, but anyways, it is a little scary, but also this does make sense given that there are only 4 slots for season 2. And again, if we're all these characters that we see, right, again, Ram has ties to Elfelt, Sin, and Dizzy. So, we can't, that'd be 3 right there. And then Faust has, connections to Cronus, and May has connections to Johnny, and, Bike and his connections to probably Answer, given that Answer's with Chip in his game as well. And if you're talking about someone from behind the scenes, I can include Answer as well, and of course Delilah, so, there's so many characters. There's too many characters to add for that 4, so it makes sense. But of course, this does not add, at least for me, that we're going to see new characters in the story mode as well. That, we haven't seen before, and it's just basically saying that, those characters aren't going to be DLC yet. And again, if we talk about Underworld Hill, so this could also include, again, like Izuna, like I was saying earlier, like Cronus, we might see him. Maybe he has a new look, and maybe he'll finally play it in season 3. That'd be really cool. I'm super excited because it's hinted that there might be a new werewolf character, and I really expect to see Slayer in this new story mode too, and that's why I hope we're not just following. Well, Slayer could be behind the scenes too, right, for sure, because he's still part of like the Assassin's Guild, so I really hope we get to see him as well. And if you're wondering why I'm very confident we'll see him, it's because he is the only character besides Biken that is an old character that is directly name dropped in Guilty Gear Strive, right? Like, he was name dropped in the arcade modes, and he was mentioned in the story. So, and Biken actually had like a twist to that, so that's why I expected to see him, because Biken was actually name dropped in the story and then referenced in the arcade, in particular Oranges. So, again, I really would expect to see him. And if we're talking about new werewolf characters, like what was hinted at in Happy Castle's arcade mode, Rachel Alucard, right? She had a male werewolf companion, maybe Slayer as a female werewolf companion. I mean, people would be all over that, right? For sure. As well as in the GG glossary, it hints at a new homunculus character. So again, there's plenty of room to add and speculate for new characters, and it makes a lot of sense that, again, we get to see more new characters in the story. But again, if we see them, I feel like this is just this kind of way of being like, like we saw Happy Chaos, we saw Gold Lewis, we saw Giovanna, but, well, I guess Giovanna was in the roster, but again, we saw Happy Chaos, we saw Gold Lewis. But if we see new characters in the story mode, don't expect them to be playable. And of course, Phalanx 9 is right. I'd love to learn more about them. Again, being some of the strongest humans, being messed with by the Universal Will, Ariel. They're super interesting characters that I'd like to learn more about. And I think this also kind of confirms that maybe they won't be Season 2 playable characters. But again, Season 3, maybe, you never know. And then the final thing that was said is Guilty Gear Strive Season Pass 1 additional content, another story will be available, of course, late April. So, again, we're just waiting it out, waiting for news. I'll be sure to update you guys as quickly as I can involving any new news we get. But yeah, I hope this was entertaining. Of course, this is a bit longer one today, but again, there was a lot of interesting things said directly. And again, I hope that we don't only look at the backstory, because I really want to see Nago in here, but even if we don't see Nago, I'm super excited for this. I'm excited to see who they reveal. I'm excited to see what we learn about these characters, especially Faust. So yeah, hope you guys are still as hyped as I am with this. Really appreciate you guys always checking this out. Love you all a lot, and hey, take care and see you all tomorrow.